Hey,
There's no pipe bollards or anything like that.
No. Kippy, Mike, this is Travis. Let's hold this. This is our topic for the agenda tonight, so I want to wait till we have our meeting started.
Sure.
These are all good topics. I'm trying to eat real quick. I don't want to miss them all, so.
Okay, sorry.
It's all right. You can schedule Jim's electric work.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Oh, Glenn.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Can I ask who's in seat number 1?
Yeah, that's missing. I don't know.
No. Who was seat number 1 that we have a vacancy on?
It's Leslie. Leslie decided she needed to step down, so.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a shame, actually.
See you tomorrow, huh? Okay.
Oh dear.
So for everybody on the call, we should be starting at 6, but we have 7 group members. I'm going to go ahead and wait until we get to a quorum, and then we'll call this meeting to order sometime here in the next probably 5 minutes. And also, if you'd like to speak tonight, I have Courtney. Thank you for raising your hand. If anybody else wants to speak during open discussion, just go ahead and raise your hand so I can call on you when we get to there. Thank you.
Everybody enjoying the warm weather today?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. Not hardly.
I put the electric blanket back on the bed the other night.
Oh.
Well, my solar got turned on today, so I think I'm okay.
Oh. How many panels did you have to put in, Glenda?
You know, I don't know. I didn't pay any attention. And I know they put an extra one just in case.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's probably in my paperwork, which I haven't read either, so. It's just a company that we had wanted to go with a few years ago, but we weren't spending enough. You know, because if you weren't spending $100, they didn't want to put the solar in.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either.
Yeah, definitely now I'm spending more than that. So we just called the same company, and because I really, you know, my son-in-law and daughter and his parents all went with this company, and we really were happy with them. So.
Is it 100% solar, Glenda?
I still have gas in the house, so I don't know what that. But it should all be yes. I don't know what that means, that question.
We just got the Tesla batteries installed.
Oh no, I didn't have batteries installed.
And the other night when the power they put a new pole in, it was perfect.
Well, you know, I'm on the same grid with the fire department, and so I have never lost power. So I didn't feel I needed to get the batteries.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty big expense.
I know. When he told me that, I realized that. So.
Well, I mean, they try to sell you the batteries as far as that goes, but, you know, I have a lot of insulation in my house, and it's pretty good size. And my electric bill, maybe in the summertime, may get up to 150. So it's not, yeah, see, so it's not really good. But I use almost everything is propane. So the only time in the summertime is my air conditioning. So.
Hey, Mike, don't feel bad.
My bill's always over 100 or 200, so,
Oh yeah, well, I'm not even close to that.
yeah.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, this is Richard, and my bill clips about 500.
Oh my gosh.
That's because I got my wonderful wife and my wonderful grandkids and my wonderful everybody else that comes over. They just what? Run everything into the ground. I'm like, okay, cool, thank you. So we can do.
But how much of stuff do you have that's electric? Is your clothes
Everything.
dryer and your water heater and all that?
Everything is.
Yeah, see, and that's the killer. So,
Yeah.
I opted out a long time ago, because when I first bought this property up here, they had an electric furnace. And good God, this, if you remember, you're old enough to remember the old stoves where it looked like a coil when you opened up the thing there and you could see down below where they, you know, the baking elements. It was just like a wire back and forth like a coil. And that's what I had for a furnace. And I said, no way. But I had a wood-burning cook stove and then a fireplace. So I used that, but then I switched over all the propane.
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing all that. We're going to do the same thing with solar. We're going to do most of it ourselves. You know, we have electrical license in the office, so we have people that know how to wire us. It's just a matter of buying the panels and putting them up. I'll do the drawing for the permit, so it's pretty easy.
Hey,
But there's
guys, I
several
think
companies out here that, you know, pretty
I think we
cheap.
got to a quorum. So
Is it 6 o'clock yet?
Yeah,
it's 6:05. I was waiting. Justin Johnson just signed on right now, and I was waiting until we had
Thank
a
you,
quorum.
Kippy.
You know what?
Thank you, Kippy.
What? I believe Roger Gray might be online. No. Nope. Roger, if you're on, go ahead and text me, but I don't recognize the phone number, so Roger was going to call in if he could. It is 6:06. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And we're going to go ahead and start with an invocation and pledge of allegiance. So if everybody can stand, put your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jim, would you lead us in a brief invocation?
Yes. Lord, we ask you to look down on this meeting and give us guidance to make good decisions. And we thank you for the cool weather we've had the last couple of days, but let's get it back warm again. We ask this in your name. Amen.
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 All right. Go ahead and start with the roll call members. Travis Lyon, present. Jim Easterling.
Present.
Jennifer Swanson.
She's muted.
Yeah, sorry, present.
Present. Glenda Archer.
Present.
George Barnett.
Present.
Roger Gray. He is not on yet. Okay. Mary Harris. Al Haven.
Yes.
Justin Johnson.
Here.
Mike Milligan.
Yes.
Richard Saldano.
Yes.
Kippy Thomas.
Here.
And Victor Woods. Excused. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. 10 here. We have a quorum. I did circulate the minutes for February 27th, 2020, March 25th, 2021, and April 6th, 2021.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Does anybody have any questions? Everybody received the minutes?
Hey Travis, I have a question.
Yes.
I was actually looking at today's agenda and I see that it says secretary under my name and I'm wondering when that happened. I don't remember it happening and I don't see it in the minutes. So if it happened and it's not in the minutes, then we need to make a change. And I wasn't here for it.
It was in the minutes from, I believe, our January meeting, and you weren't there, so we can discuss it.
We can table that for a discussion. I just want to make sure it wasn't in February, March, or April. I knew I missed one. I couldn't remember. I was trying to go through the minutes, and I couldn't get there, so.
Yeah, it was the January one. Unfortunately, you weren't there, and Justin was, and he protested loudly about nominating himself, so.
I wasn't there, Travis. I was not there.
He protested loudly afterwards. We'll come back to that.
Who was the better candidate?
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
All right. So we have a motion second for the 3 minutes. Real quick, Jim made the motion.
I second it.
And Mike Milligan with the second.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Dang. All right. It's passed with 11 votes. Good to see you, Mary. And, all right, so our next item for correspondence announcements, it's an announcement of a vacancy for the Alpine Community Planning Group for seat number 1. This is an opportunity for those interested in serving on the Alpine Community Planning Group to make a statement to the group about their credentials and desire to serve. No recommendations for appointments will be made at this meeting. The group may make a recommendation at the May 27, 2021 meeting. Individuals interested in filling the vacancy may make a statement at this time or submit a written statement via email. Written statements will be read aloud at the meeting. To date, we had 2 of the 4 individuals who were interested in the previous vacancy have expressed interest, Erica Simmons and John Sullivan. Eric and John, I see you're both on the call. I received the statement, from last month to everybody else. If you'd like to make a statement tonight, you may. If you're not able to make next month's meeting, I'd welcome you to make a statement tonight. But I would recommend that if you're able to make it to next month's meeting, that would be a good time to, again, kind of go through any type of question and answer with the group and present at that time. So if you'd like to make a statement, you're on the call, go ahead and raise your hand. If not, we'll hold that until next month. Everybody else who's on the call, if you're interested, all I would need is to shoot me an email sometime in the next month. We cannot make a recommendation per our standing rules at this meeting. So our standing rules require any vacancies be first publicly noticed and a recommendation made at the subsequent, the second meeting after it's been noticed, or the meeting after it's been noticed. So, and for everybody's information, Leslie Perricone was seated for 1. She wrote Jim and I and let us know she was going to have to step back from the group at this time, and I really, as much as I hated to see her go, I welcomed her, or I thanked her for her service over, I'd say, at least the last 6 to 8 years. So I really appreciated her time, and so we have another vacancy. It's like I said, when we fill the last one, keep attending. Death, taxes, and vacancies on the planning group, they're always guaranteed. So right now, John and Erica, we have your statements. I've circulated them to the group. I want to make sure you guys had an opportunity. If for some reason you knew you wouldn't be able to be here in May, but if not, I'll plan to see you at our May meeting. And anybody else who's interested in filling the vacancy. With that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Alpine Community Planning Group statement. The Alpine Community Planning Group was formed for the purpose of advising and assisting the Director of Planning, the Zoning Administrator, the Planning Commission, and the Board of Supervisors in the preparation, amendment, and implementation of community and sub-regional plans. The Alpine Community Planning Group is an advisory body only. And this brings us to our first open discussion of the night. I have 2 members on the call. I'm going to go ahead and promote Courtney Norton to panelist at this time. And Kathleen Lippett, I'm going to go ahead and promote you as well, and then if you would just keep your line muted until Courtney has a chance to present.
Hi, can you guys?
Courtney, there you go. We can hear you.
Okay. Hi, good evening. My name is Courtney Norton, and I'm a property owner and resident of Alpine. I would just like to make a few comments on the special meeting that was held on April 6th regarding the proposed park. The outcome of the ACPG vote was very concerning. As a member of the community, I do not feel as if my voice is being heard. The conditions that accompanied the vote by ACPG were a weak consolation and essentially redundant, as these are required to be in the environmental impact report anyways. The vote in support disregarded concerns about the scope of the park and that objective public outreach does not support the proposed park design. Subjective information was provided by a handful of ACPG members to illustrate broad support for park amenities. If this support truly exists, why are those members of the community not presenting themselves? There was a fear tactic that was orchestrated. No park at all, or the location will be developed. This land is not suitable for any development. I find it extremely troubling that several members of ACPG had questions that went unanswered, but the members voted in support nonetheless. Thank you, Jennifer, for acknowledging the disproportionate public outcry and abstaining from the vote. I and Preserve Alpine's Heritage ask the ACPG represent the considerable number of Alpine residents that have serious concerns and questions. Support a comprehensive survey on the proposed park design and scope, as the current data does not justify this design. Explore reasonable alternatives, such as a smaller nature-based park or a network of local parks. Lastly, harness community resources to find compromise and solutions. To quote a native proverb, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. I would like to end by wishing everyone a happy Earth Day. We are stewards of this earth. Once it's gone, it's gone forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. And Kathleen Lippett, if you would like to unmute your line.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and Planning Group members. I'm Kathleen Lippett here. Along with my colleagues, we work to ensure county and city policies are transparent, protect public health and safety, ensure the public voice is heard, and presented in an unbiased and balanced manner. That frequently doesn't happen, and it certainly hasn't happened with the county's recent framework for the future. I appreciate Courtney's comment about it being Earth Day, because that's particularly important in recognizing that this policy is the antithesis of recognizing the importance of Earth Day. Although the county claims to want to ensure and protect, and that is, and Nathan Fletcher believes it's one of its highest priorities, to ensure that that climate is protected and the earth, etc. His policies do not reflect that in reality. And one of them, as far apparently they are collaborating with the city on marijuana regulations. And like the state's BCC, these new regulations can try to conflate regulating and supporting the industry at the same time. Those are and it's very difficult to do one without compromising or undermining the other. The city cites their tax revenues, but fails to cite the constellation of costs and what those anticipated costs are. Their social equity slide is also asserts equity as a political cover for what is an egregiously, a totally inequitable policy that dismisses and disrespects those living in the unincorporated communities. They had no voice in the development of these policies, and they're only being reached out to after the fact with very neutral presentations of what these policies are going to mean. Without your being provided on the other side of the costs, and it's very difficult for you to make a fully informed decision. You shouldn't have to become experts on marijuana, hemp, and manufacturing, and the hazards of all of those. And the priorities that you cite as community members in the unincorporated areas are no different than the communities of low income in the city, and minority communities, immigrant communities. We never hear them coming forth and saying, what we really need are pot shops and pot manufacturing and hemp and cultivation, because that's what we want our children to grow up and be employed by those.
Kathleen, we're at 3 minutes, so if you want to wrap up.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you so much. We have one more. Kelly McCormick, I'm promoting you now to panelist.
Hi, are you speaking to me, Kelly McCormick?
Yes.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure. I will be very brief, but I just wanted to share an experience that a friend of mine has had who lives in Santa Barbara County and has a winery. And they have a marijuana grow near their, where they grow the grapes and where they live. And this odor is horrible. And in fact, they're suing the county for allowing the marijuana grow. And they're afraid that it's affecting the taste of the grapes. They harvest it every 2 months, so it's, throughout the year, and they can't sit out on their porch, they can't open their windows. It's really affecting the quality of life as well as, their livelihood. So I'd just like you to be aware when you talk to the county to, get some kind of discussion about odor and how they will go about remedying that because it's going to happen. Even if it's an indoor grow, they still produce odor. So I just wanted to share some awareness about that.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right, let me change Kelly back to an attendee. And I have actually one last one. Judy Strang. Give me a second, I'm promoting a panelist. All right, Judy, if you want to unmute your line, there we go. The floor is yours.
Good evening. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to talk to Alpine. I spoke last month as well. I just wanted you to know, as a person who works in public health and as a participant in the county's Tobacco Control Coalition, I want to make sure that our county planning groups understand how we feel about the prospect of marijuana consumption lounges in the unincorporated area. This is a very new idea. We have them nowhere in the county or any of our cities. And this runs counter to the work that's gone on over decades here in the state of California to reduce the harms, the health harms to adult members and to young people who are very much attracted to flavored tobacco and flavored marijuana products as well. And we're very concerned about the navigation down narrow and probably not well-lit roads to a consumption lounge where marijuana is either eaten or smoked or vaped, and then getting back in your car, probably impaired and driving down those same roads. And this consumption lounge, as you know, is part of Supervisor Fletcher's suggestions for new regulation. And just want you to know from a public health perspective, we're very much worried about this coming to fruition. And if you ever have any opportunities to talk to your supervisor, Anderson it is now, would you let them know how you feel about this? It's going to come back to the Board of Supervisors in June. We have a couple of Board of Supervisor meetings in the interim. First week of May and the third week of May. We would love it if you would share with them your personal perspective of how endangering this could be for the backcountry. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Back roll to attendee. And is any planning group members? I'm going to go in. I'm going to allow one more. Virginia Walker, I'm going to promote you to panelist as last public speaker. And Virginia, you let me know when you unmute your line. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. I can hear you, Virginia.
Great. Okay, speaking with the lady who could smell it up in Santa Barbara, yes, there's a place up in Spokane that's growing it. Drive by it, and it's kind of like you're in another world. You can't get away from the smell, and it's just the field of it of the marijuana growing. The other thing is I'm very I've gotten on board with thing, and I don't understand the reason why we can't kind of go to keeping this particular area a passive park, nature park, and find some other pieces of property that are, smaller pieces that are closer into town and more accessible to kids, especially for the bike part of this park. I'm just very concerned that you get that kind of activity out there next to a nature preserve. The animals aren't going to stick around, so it's just the way of life. So, it was my thoughts on it. That's all I needed to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Virginia. All right. One more moment. All right. Any members of the planning group wish to speak during open discussion?
I just have a quick comment. Politically correct. We shouldn't have a chairman anymore. Just a chair and a vice chair. That's it.
I'd like to make a comment also, if I may, Travis. We seem like we're getting a lot of comments about pot growing out in Alpine, and I don't know if there's anything that's any fields that are open. I know myself, I have did some electrical work on several pot establishments where they're processing the pot to make it into CBD oil, and the process for smell is really elaborate. I mean, we have all kinds of constraints, or the person that's putting in the pot production places, there's all kinds of constraints that they have on there for venting, exhausting, and cleaning the air before it goes out. So, I mean, I'm a little, I just don't understand what the big concern is about the CBD oil or about the pot. So is it the people are saying growing pot in Alpine, is that the concern, or is the production of the CBD oil?
So I'll come back to this, and we can talk about it as far as potentially putting on our May agenda. The County Board of Supervisors instructed staff to do to come back and do a study and report to them at their June meeting. So we have an opportunity now we're at our April meeting and our May meeting to maybe make a recommendation specific to this. And they asked the county staff to study the feasibility for opening up consumption, retail sales, and grow opportunities in the county of San Diego, the unincorporated areas. So, as we know, San Diego County, there's 5 supervisor districts. We're here in District 2. District 1, 3, and 4 are primarily incorporated cities that have their own regulations, but District 2 and District 5 encompass a lot of unincorporated areas. And then this is why this is coming to the forefront. It's why we've heard from a number of members from the community and throughout San Diego County asking us to weigh in on this. I think this is something that probably falls squarely between a land use issue, similar to ABC permits. So I think we'll consider putting it on our May agenda, and then we can weigh in. I'll send out more information on it, Mike. But I think specifically to the smell, and I'm just reading off of what the speaker said, I think their concern was the smell associated in areas where there's large grow facilities. So
the grow facilities, the ones that I did where they're growing it inside a confined area. And they have lights and all types of stuff that's involved with that. And there again, I don't know about that smell. This is something that's kind of new, and I'd like to find out more about it.
we probably, I'll circulate the information I have on what the County Board of Supervisors requested staff to go back and study, and then we can, I think it'll be a topic for, I assume we'll put it on our agenda for next month's meeting.
But the ones that I've been involved with has been in the city of San Diego and down in San Ysidro. But San Ysidro is still kind of like in the city of San Diego as far as jurisdictions go. And we've even had to put in generators because of the exhaust fans. They wanted to make sure that there was some problems with it, so you can exhaust it, because it could be volatile as far as an explosion type thing. Anyway, I would like more information.
Yeah. And then, real quick, Justin, I'll come to you after. Mary Harris, so you got your hand up?
Yeah. Hi, Travis.
Hi.
Hi, group.
Hey, Mary.
Hi. I visit a friend in Casa de Oro, where there's a whole lot of these marijuana shops. And they do present a lot of problems. There are a lot of illegal shops that keep, amazingly, they shut down and then they open up and they shut down. There is crime associated with them because they're raided, because they're full of cash money. You have to have cash to go in there. You don't take credit cards, and so they're always raided. People are, they're stealing from them all the time. It is an element of crime. When it comes down to the safety issue of driving and being stoned is like driving drunk, and I have to agree with her there. It's dangerous. Okay, but on the other hand, there's the other side is the medical marijuana. And we already have medical marijuana shops operating legally, and I have not heard them say anything about medical marijuana. That's a whole different kind of a vibe when you're in a medical marijuana shop. And there's a place for it. It is legal. It is legal. That's the whole point. And I don't know the difference they're asking about the growing or sitting in a place in like a lounge. I have not seen that yet. So I see three different things: buying and selling, sitting in a lounge and hanging out and smoking, or actually growing it in fields. And so, yeah, when it comes to studying it, we got like at least three different things to look at. Thank you.
And Justin Johnson.
Yeah, I was just, from what I've heard, it sounds like there's not a very educated discussion on the subject overall. There are specific classifications for cultivation and for distribution and for retail shops, and there are a lot of regulations that the state has issued, because I believe it was 2016 and then finally 2017 that the laws finally passed, and so we're not just talking about medical marijuana is now legal, recreational use is now legal as well. So, but as far as the smell and these overall arching fields of acres of marijuana, that's already regulated. I think I would have to look up the website. I tried pulling it up before you came to me, but there is an organization or a branch of the government that of the state of California that issues licenses, and from when I initially was looking at research, it's something like $20,000 if you want to do a garden that is 100 by 100 square feet. And so, but I will agree with Mary in the sense that there are a lot of unprofessional factors that come along with that industry, and that there are a lot of loose ends, but it sounds as if the state has really categorized this into an industry, and like it or not, it's taxable, and so it's not something that can just. It's not just going to go away. So whether or not that means that we have a shop in Alpine, revenue to be had off of that from the state, and so I don't really see that going anywhere. But I just wanted to be clear that there's not an opportunity for just wide open fields of smelling marijuana flowing through the town of Alpine. Those kind of issues have already been resolved and categorized and regulated. So that's it.
Thank you, Justin. So I want to just kind of give a little clarity on this. Again, up till now, the County of San Diego has had a policy that did not permit recreational sales or cultivation of even recreational marijuana. So that's what's before the county currently. What they've asked the Board of Supervisors has asked staff to study legal recreational sales in the unincorporated areas. I think we're aware in the city of San Diego, or let's say the city of La Mesa or the city of El Cajon, they have their own right to establish their own municipal codes. As Justin mentioned, it's legal in the state of California, but they allowed each individual municipality to establish their own guidelines as far as cultivation and sales. Alpine's part of the county of San Diego, the unincorporated area. So the county established in the unincorporated areas, there's no sales, there's no cultivation. That's what the County of San Diego Board of Supervisors has asked staff to study, is the feasibility for recreational sales, probably through, very much like Justin said, a permitting process, cultivation, which would also go through a process, and as I think the speaker said, on-site consumption lounges, which I think Mary mentioned, it is something that I don't think, I'm not aware of anywhere in San Diego County, even in the municipalities. But each municipality gets to establish their own rules. So the city of San Diego has recreational sales. The city of El Cajon does not. This would be a new regulation that would apply to unincorporated areas. Alpine, Lakeside, Ramona, all the unincorporated areas. So I'll send out, I'll get as much information as I can. I think I've heard enough from the group. This is something we'll have on our May agenda, so we can weigh in on it. It'll be early enough to give us the opportunity as a group to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors in advance of their June hearing. Anybody else during open discussion? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to, we really have just one item on our agenda tonight, so we'll move on to our organized and special presentations. So we do have Sam and Jim from the County of San Diego and Public Works, and they're going to make a presentation on the Tavern Road Decomposed Granite Pathway Improvement Project. Conceptual plan of the project is to install and improve decomposed granite pathways along the east side of Tavern Road from Arnold Way to Joan McQueen Middle School to improve pedestrian safety in this area. The county has requested that the planning group review the project and provide a recommendation. For those of you who have been around, this is something that has been a topic of discussion before our group for a number of years, and I really appreciate Jim's support in staying on top of this project and bringing back tonight some improvement plans. So, Jim, Sam, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and then also, Sam, if you want to, you can share your screen if you're going to do a presentation. If not, I might go ahead and put up the plans at the very least so we can see them. There we go.
Yeah, there it is. I have can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Travis, that was fantastic. You pretty much did my job for me. That was exactly how I was going to present the project. It's a great job. Quickly, my name is Sam Trun. I'm a project manager with the Department of Public Works, and I'm here to present the Tavern Road Pathway Improvement Project. And with me, I have Jim Bowles, who he's going to help in answering questions that we all may have regarding this project, as he has quite a bit of background. But let's kind of move forward to the slide there. As you can see, the project limit is from Joanne McQueen Elementary School all the way up to Arnold Way, and as you mentioned earlier, the project is a pathway improvement project on the east side of Tavern Road, and currently there is a pathway there now. I'm going to go to my next slide here. You guys can see it. There's a pathway there now that is not quite as wide as we'd like to install there. Right now we are proposing for 8 feet of DG pathway along that stretch of road there, where we can provide 8 feet, but for the most part it's going to vary anywhere from approximately 5.5 feet to 8 feet. And this particular section that I show here, as you can see, we're proposing a 7 feet pathway just because of the constraints of the side slope along with right-of-way constraints. So we're doing our best to provide 8-foot pathway along that stretch, but we can't provide that in all through the roadway there. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm having issues with my PowerPoint here. And this is the funding and the schedule. The funding total for the particular project is $850,000 for design and construction. This design is supposed to be completed spring 2021. The bid and award is fall 2021. Construction is winter 2021-2022, and it should be completed in the summer of 2022. So the unique thing about this particular project is it's part of 3 other projects. So we're trying to package all 4 projects together. So as far as the construction is concerned, it shouldn't take very long to improve this project or to complete the project. But the fact that it's accompanied by 3 other projects, it's going to fall somewhere in between the winter and the summer as far as construction. We're expecting about a 1.5 month construction period. So as you can see, there's a lot of time allotted, but it will fall somewhere in between that allotted time frame, and we'll know more once we bid and award the project. So overall, it's a project. It sounds like a project that the community has been requesting for some time, and we're very happy to find funding for the project, and we're hoping to get this going and provide a very good means for students and pedestrians to get to and from Arnold Way and Joanne McQueen Elementary and everywhere in between. And with that said, I know I also have plans to share, but they're very I wouldn't say they're hard to read. The conceptual plans I can bring up if anybody would like to see that.
We have those. I would go ahead and bring them up though.
I'll bring that up right now.
We're going to put you through the questions here. We've got a couple of contractors, architects, and people familiar with plans, so I think we might have some specific questions.
Sure.
And I think that would be just good to have as a reference point up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize. I could show my my face here on show my video. I'm gonna do it actually, but it looks like I'm on fire for some reason on Zoom. Can you guys see me okay?
We've got an issue with the camera probably. It's all right. We can see you. And
okay.
If you would share the plans, I'm going to go ahead at least, if that concludes the county's presentation, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
I'll second with a modification.
Okay.
I would like to see stop sign or no parking along that sidewalk, period.
All right.
What sidewalk are we referring to?
The section that you're going to build, I would like to see no parking signs along there. People use it for parking in their for their homes and school stuff and all that, and it defeats the purpose of having that walkway.
Okay. Are you talking in the vicinity of Joanne McQueen Elementary? Because our improvements is approximately 3,600 feet long from Joanne McQueen to Arnold Way. Is there a particular section that you're referring to?
No, the entire section.
The entire section, okay.
On that side, right, Jim?
Yeah, on the east side. All right. Keep this moving. I'm going to go ahead and I'll amend my motion to incorporate Jim's recommendation I made the motion to get this started so we can have a discussion. And I know we have a number of people who reviewed these and had possibly some questions. So if you want to, or if you can, guys, utilize the raise hand function, and then I'm going to call on you in that order. But I'm going to start with George Barnett. George.
Sam, firstly, could you slowly pronounce your last name so that I get it embedded in my brain?
Sure, my last name is Trun, C-H-R-U-N.
Okay, great. And I'm hoping that you'll do something permanent so that this walkway can cross Alpine Creek down there pretty easily. It's always been a problem for years. Maintenance, too narrow, and the kids tend to walk out in the street rather than to stay on the narrow pathway.
Sure, and that's one of the areas that we did see, and we are going to improve that section there that you were talking about around Alpine Creek to improve the walkability through that area.
Okay.
So that's something.
Bring up the page that shows the Alpine Creek crossing.
Okay.
Looks like page sheet 5.
Sheet 5, okay.
There we go.
So you guys can
actually,
see that
can
okay
you zoom
there?
out? Can you zoom out a little bit, Sam?
Sure.
Just give us a little. There we go.
Okay, it gets a little tight down to the 2 and 3 foot width points there to the side, right hand side of the page.
The right hand side. Okay. Oh yeah. That there, we looked into that area there, and because of the culvert that is underneath there, without having to really do environmental, what do you call it? Environmental exploration and research, and have all these environmental docs prepared. For the time being, our goal was to just facilitate what we have there now, and then at a later time, if funding becomes available, come back in and look, see if we can widen that section. But as you can see, we spoke to our environmental folks there, and they mentioned if we touch that creek in any way, there's going to be substantial environmental efforts in mitigating any potential, I wouldn't say damage, and mitigate any potential environmental hazards to that area there because of the drainage and the environmental impacts that would cause in that particular location. So that's the reason why we left it as is. And I thought it was wider. I apologize. I didn't realize we left it at 2 feet in that particular location.
A little skinny there.
No,
Yeah,
Sam, it actually is at 3 feet. If you look at the cross section on the lower right portion of that sheet, you'll see the existing chain link fence is relocated out.
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right there. Thanks, Jim, for pointing that out. So it's currently 2 feet, and because we are relocating the existing fence there, we're actually providing additional feet there to provide accessibility through that area. And like I said, because of that existing culvert and the wing wall and all the environmental constraints and there, we were trying our best to not impact that area.
Yeah, but the issue is the kids always go outside the guardrail. Always.
Sure.
And if we're hoping for them to ride bikes, they're going to pull out there into the street immediately without notice. So that is in my opinion, a quite dangerous feature, and it's been strife since 2004 when we first raised this issue. 17 years, Jim.
Okay, I was not aware of that issue, and I apologize for not coming prepared to answer that question and provide a resolution. So I will note that with our design team and then see what our options are as far as potentially making that spot a little wider. I don't know if there's an option to maybe move that guardrail towards the street to provide a little wider pathway so we can improve the area there in which people walk, maybe from 3 feet to 4 feet, something to that effect. I don't know if that will provide a better means for folks to cross through that area.
Think of a bridging solution which you guys put into Alpine Boulevard about 10 years ago on some small culverts. You had a bridging solution which led you away from not having to do full EIR.
Okay. Can you, a bridging solution, so
Like
you're talking about...
A cantilever. Something that would cantilever.
Oh, I see what you're saying, just kind of cantilever, kind of a structure over the culvert, the existing culvert now, to provide for a wider pathway, essentially. Like
a bridge over the top of that head wall.
Sure.
Take it south, maybe 15, 20 feet. That'll give you the width.
Okay.
I'm happy to take a picture of one just like that in town and send it to Jim if that's all right.
Yeah, if you can send it to Jim and copy me, that'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Next speaker, I'll come to everybody as you raise your hand, but Justin Johnson.
I'm sorry, Travis. I didn't mean to have my hand raised.
Okay.
I must not have put it down.
That's okay. Here, I'll do this.
I got it now. Didn't realize you have to take it off.
Yep.
All right, I have that noted. So far, I have no parking on the entire section of our improvements at Alpine Creek. We need to maybe look at some other options to widen the DG pathway over that culvert section there. And next question.
I have a question.
Mike?
Yeah, I see on that section CC, it looks like you've got existing AC dike there, and then it becomes DG. So why wouldn't you just leave that as all that AC in that specific area, and then I think you could probably widen it, and I know we've had a little bit of discussion on this before, and that is to add something to that head wall to make it a wider, even if we did that, if you did that in concrete, would be a lasting situation. And then also on your pathway, when I was looking at it, it showed some power poles and some signs. You're not going to relocate power poles and relocate signs, are you, in that right away?
No, correct. There are no plans to relocate any overhead power poles or signs. If they need to be relocated, yes. The power poles, definitely not.
Okay. But the CC section that's probably the most important of this whole thing.
Sure, understood. To answer your question, the AC dike that we show there is to remain. As far as I can tell here, through that area there, it's not AC above the culvert, unless correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's DG, currently dirt or DG. Okay. So, yeah, there's no AC that we're removing and putting in DG there, at least for the pathway section, but the AC dike is there to remain.
Yeah, please come out and look at it if you can, Sam, because it's a god-awful mess.
Understood. And I was there a few months ago when I first did a pre-job walk with our consultant, and we definitely looked at this particular section very closely. And like I said, we did 3 feet. That's better than the 2 feet that's currently there. But you guys do make a good point, where if we do like some sort of cantilevered structure over the head wall without going into the creek area there, I think that from an environmental perspective, I think that would be a good bet. So that's something I can definitely look into and see if we can make that happen.
Great.
You said you may not have to deal with fish and game if you want to do that.
Yeah, if we don't put any structure in that creek area or that culvert area or affect it in any way, shape, or form, and we can stay out of it, I think we should be good. But again, I'll have to consult with my design team along with my environmental team to see what our options are there.
Well, we're all for that if you can deal without getting Fish and Game involved and the Corps of Engineers, because it'll be a 2-year delay.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a while.
Why? You're too optimistic, Mike.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, so, okay.
I have a question.
Noted, yep.
If on the long-range plan, Tavern Road is to be wider by 1 or 2 lanes, and the question I have is, it's pretty narrow, and if we put parking there. I don't think we should have parking there the way the road is now, because it's not really that wide to be safe. The question I have is, are you going to widen Tavern Road, the roadway, as part of this?
To answer your question, the goal of this project is to improve the pathway, to widen it for pedestrian access and accessibility. As far as widening the road, it is not part of this particular project. And future widenings, if there is it to occur, it's going to happen on a different time and probably a little further along from where this project is going to take place. Maybe Jim would know, but I'm not familiar of any potential road widening in the near future.
That's correct.
I think I can answer that without too much going on with them. This project's not including any type of widening of the road. This is just going to be for this improvement project.
Thank you.
And I've got a question. What's the source of the funding for this project? You said it's one-time funds.
Yeah, one-time only funding that is handed down yearly by our Board of Supervisors office that we can use to facilitate these sidewalk projects. Like I mentioned earlier, this is one of 4 sidewalk projects that's going to be funded by the $2.5 million that is handed down by the Supervisor's office.
And so, Jim, I understand that. I mean, so it's what is the actual name of this? So is this coming from general fund?
This is, general fund money, also called one-time only funds. Like
okay.
General fund money that is handed down to the Department of Public Works, named one-time only funds. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I wanted to know if it was a specific grant or whether this was general funds. And Jim, I mean, you've worked on this for a while. I'm just curious. Is it just because we stayed on it? Is that the reason that the county's looking at actually using general funds for this project?
Yeah, I've highlighted this project whenever there is a round of federal funding cycles for grant applications for active transportation or CDBG. You champion this project, and so yeah, it's a matter of being persistent, and this one-time only funds came around, and this was a good candidate for the project, as a project.
I want to say I think that's absolutely fabulous. So I know we pursued active transportation grants and safe routes to school in the past for this, so
right.
I think it's ideal.
Yeah, Travis.
Go ahead, George.
You touched on the same thought I did, and I wanted to ask Jim. And I'm sure I'm sure I know what the answer is, but the whole aspect of the safe routes to school out of state funding is anything new coming on the horizon on state help in that regard? Because the first set of paths that were put in there was safe routes to school.
Right. No, I don't know of anything on the horizon for the active transportation or safe routes to school, which active transportation did absorb the safe routes to school program. I know that the latest transportation reauthorization, the federal funding, identifies and uses underserved communities and disadvantaged communities based on a socioeconomic factor, for consideration. That I don't know if this area would qualify for that.
Yeah. I had just as background some chats with Al Haven for the Circulation Committee to take up, and doing something there on Arnold Road, where this comes down and intersects with Arnold Road. then turns east toward the post office. It's just full of kids in apartments over there, and they have to walk in the street. So I think we're going to come up with some better ideas, and hope eventually pass them on to you guys, and you can find some bucks for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the upcoming CIP transportation priority projects, certainly consider those as projects to put on that priority list for sure.
I really want to thank you guys for coming up, and Sam, come up and see us sometime, and welcome to Alpine. Appreciate your work.
Absolutely, and I'm so happy that this project is coming to fruition. It sounds like it's been requested for some time, and it's nice to see that the county was able to find funding, and big props to Jim for facilitating and championing this, and we got quite a bit of funds to get this going, so that's awesome news, and I'm happy to help to get this to design and hopefully into construction. And I forgot to mention in one of the slides there that we are going to the board on June 30th for approval of advertising and award of this particular project, so another milestone to look forward to, and hopefully we can get this built and put to good use for the community.
Great.
Question.
Hold on real quick, Al. I'll come to you afterward, but I see Mary Harris has her hand up.
Oh, thank you, Travis. Jim, have you seen the similar type of roadway in Rancho San Diego where Hamashot turns into Highway 54 and it starts going kind of southwest down into the downtown area of Rancho San Diego? Because they also did something that there with the decomposed granite, which turned out super nice.
Okay.
And I wondered if you'd seen that area.
I have not actually, but I would definitely look into that. You said Rancho Santa Fe,
San Diego.
Rancho San Diego into Hamashot.
Hamashot turns into Highway 54, basically going kind of southwest into Rancho San Diego's downtown area. Okay. And they put in just very similar to what you're talking about, and it turned out real nice.
Okay, well, that's good to know. It sounds like the community's happy. I would think the community's happy with the way it turned out then.
Yeah, if it was like that, it'd be wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely DG, and it's definitely better than what is currently out there, and more stable for folks to walk onto. It won't erode as nearly as easily as the dirt that's out there, so it's going to be nice.
One more point. Also, it'd be really nice if they could be done the other way, on the other side, all the way up to where South Grade crosses.
Are you talking about on the opposite side of the road, Tavern Road?
No, the same side of the street, but instead of from Joe McQueen down to Arnold, to continue from Joe McQueen to South Grade.
Oh, you're talking about south of where our project is at, continuing it south. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, one long stretch would be really cool.
Got it. Okay, that's noted. And that's something, as Jim mentioned, if you can, once we start going out to the CPGs and soliciting a new priority list, that's definitely something you guys can put on there. And we, like I said, subject to available funding and grants or whatnot that's available, we definitely consider it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Al.
I wanted to ask, have you contacted the school about this? The school district, as I recall, is responsible for kids on their way home, and the local parentis principal. And so I don't know. Have you had input from the district?
No, I have not actually. That was my next milestone, I guess, for this particular project, is have the CPG meeting and then reach out to the principal and provide the plan set that I have here, that you guys see here, and see if he had any comments or questions as we move further into design. Kind of the general want or desire for this, this presentation is to kind of present the general feel of the project and the footprint, and make sure you guys are okay with what we intend on doing for this particular stretch of road here. And it sounds like, I can't say everybody, we haven't voted yet, but it sounds like everybody is on board with the plan to improve this particular section of roadway. Or not roadway, pathway, I'm sorry.
Justin, I see your hand up.
Yes, Sam, I may have missed it, but I was wondering if there is a fence or rail, like as Mary mentioned in Rancho San Diego, there's a pressure treated, I don't know what you would use, like a ranch style fence. Is there a fence or a guardrail or any kind of separation on either side of the roadway or the private property side?
At this point, there's no proposed post and rope fencing or ranch style fencing like you mentioned. That's something, to be honest with you, it's quite pricey because I have another project in which I'm putting it in, and as of now, there's no availability and funds to incorporate that into this project, especially because of the length of the project. 3,600 linear foot of fencing is quite expensive with foundation and the material itself. So as of now, no. But like I mentioned, when we listed out the new priority list, that we'd be more than happy to consider it if you guys put it in there as one of the priorities for this particular area.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to express a concern with as this becomes a more established route, as it is right now. When I see kids walking from Joan McQueen even down to Alpine Creek, they're very cautious. I sometimes pass by on the road while driving and see kids, playing tag or joking around, the norm things that we all archaically did back when we were the way home. But they also know that it's very dangerous right now, and so they stick to that side. Every now and then I will see a couple kids ride across on some bicycles and not swerve all the way out into the lane. They're much in that, but I have experienced in the past, especially in my community, which is a little further out from Alpine, that as soon as you pave a road, people drive faster, and as soon as you establish a route, and so I would like to bring that to the attention in the sense that once it becomes an established route, well, now there's probably going to be more bicycles, there's going to be more play, there's going to be a lot more loose ends, and if it's right there as it is against the roadway, that it may cause people to get a little less cautious and have the same apparent danger.
Understood and noted. That's something we unfortunately can't consider for this particular project, like I said, because of the funding that's available for it, but it's something we can definitely look into the future, and once the pathway is established, we can definitely go back and circle back to see if there's any other additional funding we can use to maybe put down a post and rope fencing, which we're doing for another one of my projects. Quite a bit shorter in length, but it's something we can definitely consider just to provide a visual cue for drivers to see, hey, there's a pathway here, and also to help to keep the students inside the pathway. And so that's something we can definitely look in the future.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Sam. And one last question: where will the open invitation for bid be placed for this project?
It's a I forget what it's called. Maybe Jim can help me. It's on the county's website through a third party called. Jim, do you know what that website is called that we put our bids, our advertisements for projects, construction projects?
Yeah, I want to say BidSync.
That's right.
Yeah, I forget. I haven't had a project bid out in a while, so I forget what it's called. My apologies. Thank you, Jim.
This is not against the Browns' law for me to go after that, is it? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon, Sam. Thanks.
Sounds good. Look out for it. Although, like I said, it might be part of a few other projects. So if you're bidding for this project, you might have to bid on the other two or three other projects that may accompany this contract. So
we'll see. That's the big one. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, I see your hand up.
Thanks, Travis. I'll be very quick. I just wanted to reiterate that while I can appreciate, what Justin is saying, that when you pave a road or when you put a sidewalk in, it increases traffic, and that's definitely true. And I do know how narrow that section is that we're talking about with the bridge and the cantilever option, which is a great option. You know, I also feel, and my kids are not there anymore, but I still drive down Tavern, and my kids walked that, you know, they had friends live down the street or whatever, and I feel like it's a very dangerous section of road, and I don't want it to get overlooked that even if this sidewalk is perfect, I think it's a great improvement of what's there. And I think these kids who are using it are going to use it regardless because they have to get home. And this is how they get there. And especially if they don't have a bus or they're after school or whatever. So I just don't want to get overlooked that this project, even if it was exactly as is right now, is a good project. We have needed it for a long time. And I do think that any improvement that we have here is better than what's there currently. So.
Thank you. And I just want to, Jim clarified that we bid it out on BuyNet, or we advertised it on BuyNet, not BidSync. Just want to clarify that to the folks on.
Did you have a question? Was your hand up?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and it wasn't really a question. That I know the fellow that supplied the DG for the first pathway, a decade ago. He lives in the Alpine area, and he has a business up here. So I'll make sure that he finds a way to find out about the project, and maybe he can be very competitive and free up a few bucks to add on some of these things we're talking about.
Sounds fair.
Jim Easterling, I wanted a real quick chat because I wanted to get the motion out so we could so we'd have a discussion. I want to get clarification because your recommendation for the change in the motion was to approve the project with the request that there be no parking throughout this stretch. I want to get two things out. One, this is an area there's no legal parking on the side of the road, so we don't have an issue as far as there's not street spaces available. And I think I understand what Jim's comment is that in Alpine we do have certain times where people park on the DG pathways that we have, like for example right near Drummer Queen now, and also along Harbison Canyon. Jim Bowles, you have, I mean, as far as like legality of that, that's obviously, that's an enforcement issue, but parking on these type of pathways is not legal, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm looking, I'm going on Google Earth now on Street View, and I'm going through the stretch of road. There's no parking, yeah, there's just simply not enough space. So
no,
that's what I can see.
What Jim's talking about isn't parking on the road, it's driving up onto the DG pathway.
Understood.
And so Jim, I understand that concern. My concern is, and to be honest, we make a recommendation. I don't know if the county's going to do it. Personally, I'm not so much in favor, even if they were willing to do it, for putting no parking signs every 25, 30, 50 feet along the stretch of road. So I just want to make sure we're clear in our motion and what our recommendation is. So Jim Easterling, you made the second. What are your thoughts on that?
I still support the no parking signs, or as an option, perhaps have them paint that curb red.
Well, a red curb denotes an area where you're not supposed to park in the street. There's no parking along this stretch of Tavern Road. So we're not talking about, this would be illegal parking by default, what you're describing. I personally, I'd be inclined to pull my motion as far as asking to put up no parking signs for this long of a stretch. One, I don't think it's necessary. But two, I would have a concern with the aesthetics of that throughout our community. Again, I understand the concern. I feel like the parking on DG pathways is something I've seen quite a bit. Anybody who's lived in Alpine, we've seen it. It generally occurs at times when we have either overflow events from our schools or other times. I don't know. I want to at least have this discussion with the group because I understand. I think I agree with Jim completely that it does defeat the purpose. I don't know that no parking signs are necessary because if you put up no parking signs, you still have to enforce that. And so that would be requiring calling either CHP or sheriff to come enforce the no parking. And whether the sign's there or not, it is not legal parking. So I don't necessarily know that the sign would be the impetus for them to be able to enforce that.
Okay, I can't draw that.
Isn't there going to be like a curb there anyway, so the person that would try to park on that DG area would have to